Well, YouTube, it's finally here. Apex Legends Season 2. New legend, new weapon, weapon balance updates, map updates in a large scale, and a whole lot more. For now, let's specifically look just at Wattson and give our first impressions of what she's like to play, what she does, how you should use her, and if she's worth your time. Let's get started with the brand new legend, Wattson. She is a medium hitbox, normal movement speed, defensive class, all about eliminating movement options from your enemy team, eliminating their offensive options, just making it as difficult as possible for them to get from point A to point B, to get from where they exist into your space and pushing your team, throwing grenades at you, throwing ults at you, whatever the case may be. Her job is to neutralize everything as best as possible. Her tactical ability is the electric fence. Press the tactical ability once to equip your pylons. You can place one down. By itself, it does nothing, but you place a second one with a little line connecting the one to the second, and you will create an electric fence. You may connect up to 12 pylons together. Of course, you can only hold 4 charges, so you're going to have to spend quite a bit of time letting that recharge to build a fortress worth of electric fences, but you can theoretically have 12 of these pylons placed, which means you can have up to 11 individual fences at maximum. So this character can, if you give her enough setup time, shut down multiple avenues of attack for an enemy team and make it really difficult for them to push in on you or to get through any sort of building, any sort of area. Now, it is important to note that the pylons themselves can be shot and destroyed. Now, when I've tried shooting enemy pylons, hitting the actual pole part doesn't seem to do anything, but if you shoot the base, it'll be a gray and red glowing base at each pylon. If you shoot those, they are very easy to blow up. Just a couple of bullets or one melee will do the job, so these traps, while they're always active, while they never expire due to time, are very easy to shoot and destroy. So these are mostly useful, in my opinion, in a pinch. If you are in a close range fight with an opponent and you are able to very quickly flick a couple of pylons out and drop a wall just in the middle of a room, even if it doesn't cover the entirety of the room, doesn't matter. Just putting that obstacle down very rapidly can very much so change the dynamics of a fight. The cool thing about pylons as well is that while you're trying to set them down, while you have the pylon itself equipped, let's say, you can sprint, slide, jump, whatever you want, all at your normal movement speed. So the things that I like to do is, say, for example, I'll be in a fight. If I'm losing or I need to run away, I'm out of position, I'll start running away, but I will equip the pylons and just start dropping them behind me in sort of like a lazy little zigzag. It's not really much, but in certain hallways, in certain situations, that can give your opponent just enough pause where they can't just hold forward and sprint at you and try to chase you, that they have to get around it or they have to stop and shoot the pylon, that you might actually be able to get away. Now, is this going to be a foolproof plan that always works and makes the character good? No. It's just one of those little tiny things, one of those little tiny minutia that you can employ to make her that little bit better, that can make her outplay potential just that little bit better. And this is what Wattson is all about. She's all about high input rapidity, like, what's the phrase I'm thinking of, like from StarCraft? APM, actions per minute. It's all about performing a lot of actions very quickly. This character, in my opinion, is going to play a lot better on a mouse than she will on a controller, specifically because on a keyboard and mouse, it's very easy to press Q, slam your mouse left, left click, slam right, left click, press Q again, and you can put 2 pylons down and then pull your gun back to ready a lot more quickly than you can do in a controller, where you are a slave entirely to the sensitivity of your right thumbstick. And even then, it's going to be tough to accurately and perfectly place those pylons where you want them. So it's just going to be a slower action of getting those pylons down quickly in high-stress scenarios. Now, in the average setting up defensive situation, does it matter? No, but in those high-intensity, micro-intensive battles, I really do feel like Wattson performs significantly better on a keyboard and mouse, and she will control better on keyboard and mouse, and she is like the only legend out there, except for maybe like Pathfinder, I guess, where you have a significant advantage at a character level based upon your input level. So that is just something to keep in mind, something to be aware of. This is not me saying that Wattson is bad or unusable on controllers. That is very far from the truth. It's just that she's a little bit easier and, in my opinion, probably a little bit more effectual on a keyboard and mouse when it comes to just raw inputs. Anyways, getting back to the stats. Wattson's Pylons only have about 30 HP. They are destructible in a single melee attack, so you can absolutely walk up to an enemy Wattson's Pylon and just kick it and kill it, and that is totally a thing you can do. You're not going to electrocute yourself, you're not going to hurt yourself, stun yourself, slow yourself, or whatever, like those Pylons do upon contact. So you really want to try and avoid those whenever possible. You know what it feels like to be arc-starred and be slowed where you cannot aim effectively, your screen is blurry, you take a lot of damage, you lose a bunch of shields. All of that minus the big shield loss is what these electric fences will do to you if you walk through them. You'll be slowed, you'll be stunned. It's not a good time. You're going to take, I believe, 10 damage is the base damage that this thing will deal. It'll deal 10 damage per tick, one tick every roughly 1/2 to 1 second. I have had a couple of very hectic drops where I've landed right next to a bunch of other people, and I instantly just mash out in a panicky mouse-flinging pattern. I get 4 of these traps out, I get a couple of fences connected and working, and I get a good number of damage ticks and enemies that are running through and also panicking and trying to figure out like how to move, how to react to what I have just done. And I don't see the damage ramping up over time like caustic gas does. It seems to be a static 10, 10, 10 every single hit. That is, of course, modified by heavy characters having damage resistance or light characters having damage vulnerability in this current patch. So that is something to worry about as well, and we'll talk about the specifics of that a little bit later. But you'll see a little bit of fluctuation in damage numbers based upon who you are hitting with the fence, but overall it is 10 damage per tick. Moving on to her ultimate ability. This is actually, well, it's odd. I don't know how I feel about it. The main marketing thing of Wattson is how you can drop her ult, and it's like a super duper trophy system. It stops grenades, it stops Gibraltar ults. Like, whoever got hit by a Gibraltar ult, I don't know. But it's a thing that it does, but that's not the reason you use it. You use this ultimate specifically because it recharges your shields and it gives you a base of operations as Wattson. Because what it really does, the most important thing, not only is like the shield regenerating for your team important, but it makes your tactical ability recharge a whole heck of a lot faster. So you can drop down 4 pylons, drop down your ult, recharge your 4 pylons very quickly, go and block somewhere else, go back to your ult, recharge your pylons a 3rd time, go drop 4 more, suddenly you have 12 pylons down in the course of like a minute. And you have an entire area just filled with all of your garbage as Wattson. And now, if you use her passive, which lets you use ultimate accelerants to get your ultimate back instantly. So you still have a full casting time on that accelerant, but once you go through the casting time, you just get a full ult. So you can drop 3 of these ults down, you can spread them out, you can have a web of constant armor regeneration for your team. You have a web of constant regeneration of your fences. So as enemies start pushing in and destroying your fences, you can reset them very quickly and just keep that fence tally very, very high. And she could potentially do really cool defensive things. But the fact of the matter is, Apex Legends is an offensive game. It is an aggressive game. It is a hold forward, hold W, hold M1, hold your shoot button game. And just run at gunfire, blow stuff up, run at the next gunfire, blow more stuff up kind of game. This is like the most aggressive battle royale out there right now. So adding defensive legends is questionable because it's really hard to slow the game down enough where you can actually get really good use out of them. Wattson suffers from the same problems that Caustic suffers from, where she has a lot of setup time, but if she gets set up and she happens to get lucky in a final circle, or you're playing in Market, you're playing in Skulltown, you're playing somewhere that has a lot of hallways, a lot of tight corridors, a lot of places that you can lock down, this legend can do some really cool things, especially if paired with Caustic, because the amount of area denial is absolutely absurd. Combine that even further with the grenade-defying abilities of her ultimate, with the fact that you can throw a million grenades yourself, you can completely shut places down. But I struggle to recommend you ever choosing a team composition of Caustic and Wattson together, just because, sure, they can set buildings up and be really annoying, and they can do some interesting stuff for final circles, but you just cannot guarantee where your final circle is going to be. You can't guarantee what kind of loot you're going to get, because if you're playing a really slow defensive team, you're trying to set up somewhere, how do you guarantee that your team even gets a full set of blue armor, let alone purple armor? How do you guarantee that you get good guns that'll enable you to win those fights? Are your gadgets and tacticals enough to win these late game circle fights if you're playing a super slow defensive passive style? Will you get lucky enough on a care package drop that happens to be near you and you can stretch out to get that really quick and then go back to your defensive area? Like, can you make these plays happen? And because this is a battle royale, this is a game built from the ground up on RNG, the best styles of play are always going to be those that normalize the RNG, that normalize the random number generation as much as possible. Aggressive, high movement champions, or legends rather, anyone who is good at killing other players as quickly and efficiently as possible is always going to be the top tier legend pick. So for that reason, Wattson really does fall pretty far behind the pack. She is certainly, in my opinion, not a top 5 legend. So this game only has 10 legends, so by design that puts her in bottom 5. Does that make her bad? Does that make her a poor pick? Does that make her not worth taking? No, none of the above. It simply means that if you're going to pick her, you have to have a really good reason for doing so, and I think you need to practice with her more than any other legend in the game, because you need to learn the mechanics of how her fences work. You need to get comfortable with slamming those down very quickly in the middle of fights to either protect your backside when you're pushing into an enemy team, or just to block out areas. I mean, you need to be very proactive in putting these things down. Don't try to be perfect with your trap placement. Just like if you're in a fight, just start dropping fences, because you and your team will in the moment start to posture around them. And if they happen to interfere with an enemy team's plan, awesome. And if they don't, well, does it really matter in the end? Because if you win the fight, you won the fight. It doesn't matter. You pick your pylons back up and you're good to go. If you lost the fight, okay, well, did you lose because your pylon placement was bad? Or did you lose because your team placement was bad and your weapons were bad and your positioning was bad and your communication was bad? Like yada, 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 right? So just put the freaking things down quickly and get back to fighting with Wattson. That is the most important thing. So because her abilities don't directly impact a fight instantly, like something like a Wraith does, or something like a Bangalore does, something like a Bloodhound even does now in this patch. Because her abilities take a little bit more setup time, because they make you drop your gun for so long, it has to be a factor in how good is she in these fights, because this is an aggressive game. And she's questionable. Like, she's not bad. She's certainly not bad. Her hitbox is solid. Her AD strafing is not the best, but fine. And if you have a moment to set her abilities up, they can be game-changing, but they just have that wind-up period. So there's a push and pull, there's a give and take. Is this a legend I would take into Apex Predator tier ranked matches? No. Is this a legend that I would flex on hard in public games? Absolutely. Wattson is a lot of fun to play. She is not a bad pick. She is not a detriment to your team, but be aware, she is tough to play at the absolute maximum potential. All in all, this legend is fine. While I don't recommend it for super high level teams trying to make it to top tier rankings of the Apex Legends ranked Q tier list, leaderboard, whatever, I think for the average player playing in casual games, if you're looking for a legend that will give you a challenge, but actually reward the challenge, unlike Caustic, who gives you the similar challenge but no reward, Wattson is a good and fun pickup. I think she's worth your time. I think she's worth playing, and I'm very interested to keep going with her and getting better with her and seeing just how far I can take her. Guys, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you've learned something new, and I hope you've enjoyed some of the gameplay listed here. Sorry I don't have a whole lot, but the character's been out for an entire 24 hours so far, so this is the best I could get in my few hours of play up to this point, but I hope that it was at least fun and entertaining to watch. We'll have more content coming out very, very soon for you, talking about the L-Star, talking about map changes, and so much more, so be on the lookout for that as well. Once again, thanks for being here. I'll see you over on Twitch very soon, hopefully, or back here on YouTube in the next couple of days. Take care, and have a great day.